Hello, welcome to Wine. The prodigal child returns.
So we missed September's, which was Sex Magic September, which I think we agree we're going to do it in November, right, with Dana?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But we did do like a prompt to throw on there and just chit chat about nothing kind of live in September, which we did not save to our channels because it got a little personal after a while. So if you were lucky to see that live, you were lucky to see that live. If you weren't, sorry.
If you didn't see it, thank God. Because I was a disaster.
No, it was fine. It started off just fine.
And it ended terribly.
But Justin got very drunk.
It went a little too far.
I was pretty tipsy myself, and we really got into some deep, deep stuff.
Yeah. Why don't you tell them what you're drinking, Brittany?
Okay, so for my birthday, Justin bought me this book, Witchcraft Cocktails, and this is more than just a recipe book. This book goes over the magic and alcohol together and you know how they work together. And then it has, of course, all the recipes. So I've done Persephone's Descent, and that is delicious. But tonight I am drinking a Witch's Cosmo. So that is what I'm having. The only ingredient I'm missing from this is the orange liqueur. I just omitted it and put some extra lime juice in it. Tastes just fine. But I don't have a cool little glass to put it in, so I'm drinking it in my chalice. But that is what I'm drinking tonight, is a Witch's Cosmo. Great book if anybody likes to have a couple of drinks.
I'm drinking Chex Cola.
Dude, you're so bad.
I'm so bad.
You are so bad. I myself am strange and unusual.
Oh my gosh. And you know what today marks? The first Wine and Witchcraft as walking in Wisteria.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. Yes. So most of you know, because it's been about a month now that I changed my name from Palm Tree Bewitchery to Walking Wisteria, because Palm Tree Bewitchery no longer suited my needs.
And I'm going to change my name to Wisteria Walking In.
Oh shit. I think Angie's here and Gemini's here.
Hello guys, welcome to this live. I stuttered. I promise I'm not having a stroke. But I did the
So Gemini Grey Wolf was having a margarita. Ooh, I haven't had a margarita in a minute. Like, is it a frozen one or is it like over the rocks?
I like my margaritas on the rocks.
I like them frozen.
You do? Really? It gives me brain freeze.
It's too grainy. I'm margarita eating. I mean, drinking. Sorry, I'm picking up the ashes.
That's okay.
I'm picking up the ashes of my sage bundle.
Yeah, we're saging our problems away.
When in doubt, just sage.
Yeah. One bundle at a time.
Yeah. So most of you guys saw the trailer where we were talking about what we're going to talk about. It's going to be a little bit longer. I extended the show by a half an hour just because we might get into some things that are very deep, personal, dark, traumatic kind of stuff. And sometimes that takes a little bit longer of a conversation. And then, of course, you know, we like to talk to you guys in the comment section as well. So, you know, there's that too. That communication piece might take a little bit longer with this kind of a topic. So we extended it by half an hour. So walking in the shadows is basically the topic. And the reason why we kind of picked this topic for October, because of course, October is that shadow month. It's that month where the veil gets thinner. We start talking to our ancestors and communing with them and whatnot. Then we have Samhain, of course. And it just felt right to kind of put this, it's the end of the year as well, too. We're coming closer and closer to the end of the year, to put this subject in October. So shadow work. Well, the definition of shadow work is pretty much, and people always get confused. Like I've heard people say like, oh, I'm doing shadow work today. I'm like, no, honey, you're just depressed. You know, like, I've heard that so many times. Like, oh, I was busy doing some shadow work. No, babe, you were just depressed today. Completely two different things.
Yeah.
You know, shadow work is working through the parts of yourself that are less desirable. That is one big part of it, is working through those, figuring out the root cause of them, why they are part of your personality, your psyche, and accepting them. That is one big part of it. It's also sitting in trauma, sitting in life's less desirable moments and years and months and days that you go through, and sitting with them, processing them, appreciating them.
Yes.
And not just saying, this sucked, I'm not going to deal with it, put it in a file cabinet, lock the door, and throw away the key. That is just going to create more issues spiritually, mentally, physically. Shadow work is so difficult because it is not sunshine and rainbows and fluffy bunnies. It's gross, it's dark, it's eerie, it's like a horror show sometimes. It'll make you cry, it'll make you scream, it'll make you want to run for the hills, it'll make your skin crawl, it'll make you cry, it's terrible. So, you know, it's something that most people hate to do, but when they come out the other side of a particular shadow work, they feel almost like they took like the best shower in the world. You know, so we've all done, human beings, we've all done it. We've all had to go through it. But it's, you know, it's the people out there that, spiritual or not spiritual, I mean, Christian, Buddhist, I don't care what religion you're from, that don't do the shadow work. Or shadow work just exists, yes, in our craft, but it also exists just in human existence. There's a lot of people that don't do that shadow work and end up in a very, very dark spot. And I think that the premise, and to talk about what shadow work is and some of our shadow work and some of the things that we've had to deal with. And then if you guys feel comfortable in the comments up there in the chat, excuse me, I'm burping up Witchy Cosmo. If you guys feel comfortable to talk to us about some of your shadows, we can talk about those too. So, Justin, what do you have to add?
I mean, I 100% agree. I think that especially in, I don't know, just witchcraft, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, we talk about it as shadows. And I agree with you. I think in every religion or practice, it's really, to me, shadow work is about, which I may not have a very good understanding, but to me, it's about discovering those things that you don't like about yourself, maybe things that other people don't like about yourself, understanding why you are the way you are, and getting to a point where you can accept that this may not be a wonderful attribute or personality trait or whatever, but it's still who I am. And once you can accept it, you can kind of let all of that weight go and move forward. And I think you do see that in Christianity. I would almost say that their ideas of sin can almost be not really an equivalent, but kind of how they view it. And I just think it's super important. Like, you have to be able to face your shit head on, like, to yourself. Like, you should be able to look into the mirror and say, you know, I'm selfish, I'm narcissistic, whatever, in a way that you can understand why you are the way you are, because everything affects us. You know what I mean? Like, everything you've been through changes your personality, or the decisions you make, it influences who you are as a person. And I think when you can recognize those attributes and then better understand why the way you are the way you are, you can get to a place where you accept yourself.
Right. I mean, I completely agree. There's a lot of things, you know, that people have pointed out about me that I'm kind of like, no. But the more people you have saying, like, this is a personality trait of yours, you know?
Yeah.
And this one is really, really dumb, but it bothers me still. And it's not really a shadow, but it's a personality trait that it kind of is shadow work in the small sense. A personality trait of mine that my whole entire life people have said is a problem And I hate hearing it. It still drives me nuts. To this day, I kind of try to shrug it off like, ha, 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 whatever, that's the way I am, and whatever. But it still bothers me that people are pointing this out. And any of you who have hung out with me in person and from my videos or even from the lives know that I'm very loud. My voice is very loud. I know this is really weird and small, but you'll see where I'm going with this. I'm very, very loud, and I talk really, really fast. So people have always said, like, I'll be in a conversation with somebody, and people are always like, oh my God, Brittany, you're so loud. Shh. But I find that when I talk like this and I'm really, really quiet, it hurts my vocal cords. So part of my personality is my voice is naturally boisterous. It's naturally loud. I talk really, really fast. But my whole life, people around me have made me feel like a piece of shit for having a loud voice, for having a loud laugh. I laugh really loud, you know, and they've made me feel insecure about myself and feel shitty about myself because of a personality trait that is it's just who I am. I talk really fast and I talk really loud. I'm very outspoken, you know, and I've had to sit down with myself with all these people saying, Brittany, you're so loud. Like it's embarrassing to them that I'm loud. Like I've been sitting at lunch with coworkers and I'll be talking just like this. And they'd be like, Brittany, you're so loud. Shh. You know, and shushing me. And I get really offended by that. Like, and I feel like there's something wrong with me. Like I can't help my tone of voice, the way that I'm loud, you know? And I've had to sit down, and it bothers me. And I've had to sit down with myself and say, okay, Brittany, why are you loud? Can you change it? Do you want to change it? Should you change it? And I've tried to change it, but I can't change the volume of my natural voice, you know? And I've had to just get to the point where I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm loud. I'm from Boston. A lot of us are loud and fast and obnoxious. Deal with it. But it took me many years to get to that point. I used to be like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I feel really ashamed of myself. You know what I mean? Like it's a small shadow work, but these are things that you have to deal with. And I felt like shit when people would shush me in public. Like that bothered me, you know? I know this sounds really dumb, really stupid, really small, but I mean, that's where those are the kind of things it starts off with. It goes to bigger and better things, you know, down the road. But
yeah,
Justin, you know how I am. I'm very, when you're in person, I'm loud.
You are loud, but I mean, to me, I'm loud. So it never bothered me. But, you know, I think you have to understand where people come from. You know what I mean? And I know your childhood. I think your childhood plays a role. Mm-hmm. And why you're so loud, and culturally, you know, as a New Englander, you're naturally loud, abrasive, fast talking, potty mouth people. That's not a negative. That's what it is.
Culture, yeah.
And it's, if you grow up in that type of environment, and then, you know, some of the things you shared about your own self, if I'm not loud, I may not be heard. You know what I mean? Like I need to be, this is who I am. And I mean, those are some of the things I love about you. But when you can sit in your truth, you know, people stop seeing it as negative. Like for me, I used to always get this thing, which I still do, is you're selfish. And as a teenager, I was very depressed. I was anorexic. You wouldn't believe it now, but I was. And working through that with therapy and medications and just everything, I got to a point in my life where I said, you know what? I'm not going to let people make me feel that way again. And then once I started caring about myself, people started calling me selfish. And then I just got to a point in my life where I was like, people would say, you're selfish. And I'd be like, yes, I am. Because I am. I can be. And I accept that. Does that mean I need to be a selfish bitch 100% of the time? No. But I am a selfish person. And that's just who I am. You know what I mean? I am selfish. I like what I like. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it. That can be selfish.
That's the weird thing about the selfish persona or part of your personality, because the Justin that I see, I see from the outside as far as being away, you know, from a distance. But when you're like hanging out with me or whatever, you're the most selfless person I have ever met. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I'm on a street corner and I need to get home and I'm in Seattle and I'm like, and I call you up and I'm like, Justin, I need $100 to get home right now because I'm stuck on a street corner in Seattle. You'd be like, bitch, go to Wells Fargo. I'm going to wire it. You know what I mean? Like you are not as selfish as I think you are. Yes, because that self-love is something that you really, really needed to tap into. But at the same time, when it comes to other people that you care about and that you love, you're not selfish at all.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I don't cry. It took me till just recently as to why. Now I've been to hell. It's both my parents and I was too strong for everybody else. That's a terrible place to be in. Let me just say this right now. You cannot negate your feelings because that's part of the issue that I'm in now is you don't deal with your trauma and you don't deal with your shit. It's going to be so bad, which I see you say I'm doing the work to find out why I'm like this. I hurt deeply, but hide it. Same, honey, same. I'm an introvert. Brittany can attest to this.
Yep.
I will close up shop, focus on one thing, which is typically work. And I will just ignore everything, everything, family, friends, the craft, I will ignore everything so that I can just focus on one thing and not deal with whatever the heartache.
But that's what gets you into trouble though.
Yes. Yeah, because it just piles up. Like it doesn't resolve itself. So if you don't handle it, it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And then you've unfortunately and not, on purpose, you've ruined relationships because you've kept everything so in that you wind up turning in on yourself, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, and the thing with witchcraft and just the craft and magic in general is, one of the things about what we do is know thyself. Know thyself and come in perfect love and perfect trust. Well, how can you do that if you have so many shadows that you haven't even dealt with? If you don't even love yourself,
right?
How are you going to love God or goddess? How are you going to love anything else if you don't love yourself? And it's okay to come without perfect love and perfect trust, but you have to be, working on that and to know yourself. And, I've been doing, I've been practicing now for, 13, 14 years. And I can say right now, do I come every time in perfect love and perfect trust and know myself? Not 100%, but I've made huge strides in the past 13, 14 years because of the craft. So that they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I've worked on things that I would have said, like, I know these people are talking about. I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to face this. I've had to sit down and really face them. My way of dealing with things was, if something happened to me trauma-wise or anything like that, I would put it away in a mental file cabinet and lock the door and throw away the key and just never face it ever again. But now I have to literally sit with it, and it sucks. I mean, I know, Justin, you've done it too, where you've sat and just cried.
Yeah.
Because you've had to sit in that. You've had to purposely, whether it's lighting a candle or incense and just sitting down and just thinking about it nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you end up just, and people say like, oh, you should never cry. You should never cry. Like, you have to. Like,
you have to.
After a good cry, I feel great. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone to work. I am emotional. I hear a song on the radio. Which my big trauma, my big thing is obviously Peyton still. But I'll go to like another office. Brittany knows this because we're in a little group on Facebook Messenger, and I'll just get on there and cry or just have a good cry, look at pictures, look at videos, cry. And in 35 minutes or so, an hour, I'm good. You know what I mean? It feels good to just let all those emotions out. Just let them out so that they can be there. And I've also found that in writing. I've been posting a lot of my poetry on Facebook.
I saw that.
It just, you got to get it out.
You should write a book.
I'm thinking about doing that. But
it's
one of my shadows.
It's so hard to write a book, but it's not.
That's one of my shadows, and you know this. You know this. I do not give myself credit, and I don't believe in myself.
No, and the thing is, and I'm sure everybody here in the chat can contest to the fact that if you knew Justin from My Heart J. Williams or Lucky Witch, the comedic style of Justin and you know how funny he is without even trying. Well, the funny thing about that is, and I didn't actually know this until this year, was Justin doesn't even think he's funny. And he said it to me one day. He's like, I don't try to be funny. I don't think I'm funny. He's like, I don't know why all these people are laughing at me, or laughing with me, I should say. It's not at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't see it, you don't get it. And he's like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I'm like, again,
I don't, because the stuff I think is like, when I do stuff that I think is going to be funny, people don't laugh. And then I just don't think, like, when I'm the funniest to other people is when I'm not thinking. I'm just doing whatever it is I'm doing. Like today on my way home from work, I did this stupid thing on Facebook Messenger, and Brittany was laughing about it. But when people start laughing, I keep doing the same thing, even though I don't necessarily get it. Like, I don't get what I'm doing that's funny. It's just when people laugh, I'm like, I make a mental note, like, okay, people like that, check. But that doesn't necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that I'm funny, because most of the time I don't think that I'm being funny. Usually when I'm being funny, people aren't getting it. So I'm like, okay, I'm not funny.
And the funny thing is, I laugh at you all the time. Like, there was one time you said something on a voice text, and I was cracking up laughing, and Anthony just looked at me and was like, what? That's not that funny. I'm like, you don't find that funny? That was fucking hilarious. So it's just one of those things where I think you're absolutely hysterical. And, you're always sitting there with a straight face after you make a joke, and I'm like, you're not laughing at your own joke? That joke was awesome. But, that goes without giving yourself credit, and that goes from having no self-esteem and not believing in your own self, And
it's self-sabotage, because, like, I've had poetry published before, in school and stuff. I've had my poetry published, but I've always wanted to write a poetry book, and I have quite a few. And I've looked at publishing it independently, and like my brain automatically goes to this place where I'm like, people aren't going to think I'm good enough. Maybe these poems suck. No one's going to buy it. What's the point? Like, and it's like, bitch, you haven't even put it into place. You're cutting yourself off before you even say go. You know what I mean?
I would buy it. And that's the thing, Justin, is you don't realize the group of people you have surrounding you that would totally buy your book. I'd be giving out the street corner. Take this. Like, I buy all the copies and just give them out the street corner so people can be exposed to it. That's the thing, is you think you're in this tight, closed bubble that you're not.
I do.
And here's, Gemini made a good point, is, the people that have the deepest hurt tend to be the funniest. Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, etc. Think about that. The people that have the deepest hurt really do have, and they use it as a way to escape, yes, but it's how they almost make themselves happy.
Yeah.
Is to make other people happy by laughing.
Yes. And that's the thing, like, that's when I am most happy, is when I'm making people laugh. And when I'm enjoying that, you know what I mean? That's why when I go to your house, I always have so much fun, because that's what we just sit around.
I could wear like a diaper when you come over, because I just will pee myself.
I don't know. I got to stop doing that. That's a shadow that I've yet to conquer. Like, I don't even know how I finished college. Still,
I don't know how you did either, because I couldn't do that shit. Hell no.
I'm not someone who finishes stuff. You know this. Like, I start stuff and don't finish. That's just me. I know that's how I am. I don't like that about myself, but I accept it, because what the fuck? I'm not changing it. But
right. Oh, I have too. But here's the thing that I will not accept from you, and I've already had this conversation with you in the studio before we went live. I will not accept you walking away from your craft. I will not accept you walking away from your witchy room. And I will not accept, and I repeat, I will not accept you leaving YouTube.
I know.
So Justin didn't leave YouTube, but those of you who follow him might have seen that he privated all his videos for a short hot minute, and then they're available now. But he went through some shit, and he's going to talk about it in a minute. But he went through some shit that he just decided he needed to close every window to his life and suffocate himself in a tiny little house. That's essentially how I feel what you did. And I was not cool with it.
That's what I do. Like, that's like what Gemini is saying. Like, that's exactly what I did. I'm like, I haven't been on Instagram. I haven't been on YouTube. I haven't watched anybody's videos. So if there's drama, if there's whatever, if anything, I know nothing about anything because I haven't watched. And I like get into these weird places, particularly at the end of the year, where I just close in on myself and I start dropping all of the positive things. I think now that I'm hearing myself talk about it, it's just one more like reincarnation of self-sabotage. Like I take away everything that gives me some sort of pleasure so that I can just fall into this deep hole of negativity and just, you know, letting it eat me. And I need to stop doing that. But, you know, I go through these like reincarnations where I'm like, go, 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 dead. And then I'm dead. And then I'm like, I'm alive. And then I'm dead.
And that's the thing is we were talking earlier about how Justin never really stopped being a witch or anything like that. But what he did was when it came to the anniversary of his son's death, he had to observe it, which I completely believe had to have been done. So, you know, I let him do his thing, you know, and wallow in it and connect with it and deal with it. I let him do his thing, but it didn't get any better. I saw as time was going on past Peyton's, you know, anniversary, it didn't get any better. As a matter of fact, it got worse.
Yeah.
You know, there was no Justin on YouTube. There was no Justin on Insta. And yes, these are just socials. I get that. But, you know, your socials are a reflection of your mental health. You know, yes. So I saw the lack in our little witchy group we have on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, like he needs to deal with his shadows and deal with the personal trauma and the loss of his son. I get it, but you know, it's time to pick up the pieces after dealing with that and observing it and connecting and loving him and honoring him and moving on. And every year this is going to happen, and we're ready for it. Every year we're ready for Peyton's anniversary. We're going to celebrate Peyton every year. But after a while, it's like, bitch, it's like a Samhain.
Right.
You know, and Justin was saying earlier, he's like, oh my God, I haven't been in the witchy room. Now, part of it was due because his daughter was doing virtual school and had to take over the witchy room for her little studio to do her virtual school. I get it. But he kind of closed the door to his craft as far as his room was concerned. And when we got in the studio before we went live, he's like, oh my God, it feels so great to be in here. And I'm like, bitch, I could.
It is. Yes, it's true.
Don't ever try to leave behind your craft.
It's the rebound and getting to that place where like you can acknowledge something that happened to you and then being able to like let all of that shit just fall into you, feeling it, getting it, like letting all your feelings happen and then releasing it so that you can keep moving forward. And that's like a really weird balance that I haven't figured it out yet. And I know I will eventually because time helps. We always learn. You know what I mean? Time helps you learn because you just repeat the cycle and you either get better or you get worse. So I know I will get better. It's just that rebound time just got really long.
It did. And I started worrying. I'm like, okay, is his mental health declining? Like being the sister and the best friend, I'm like, okay, I need to do something here. So I tried the comedic approach to just make fun of him for being off socials and not being there. I tried kick him in the ass. And, you know, I think coming here and being part of this community and doing Wine and Witchcraft is going to help a lot to just kind of talk it out, you know, because when it comes to Peyton's anniversary, you have to relive. You literally have to relive that day.
Yeah.
And I can't, I mean, I haven't lost any children. I don't know anybody in the chat. There's 14 people watching us here, but I don't know if anybody else has lost a child or someone close to them and can deal. Hey, Rachel. And can understand that. And I've told Justin, I said, I will never, ever, because I'm not having any more kids, but I will never, ever understand what that's like. I can be there for you as much as someone who's never lost a kid can be there for you, but I can never feel that, you know? So it's just one of those things where
you can see through your pain.
Why am I
I can't see through anything.
God, I was covered.
I can't see it. She's got a black shirt on.
I thought that one was yours. That's why I left it. I don't know. I didn't know if you did. Say hi. As long as you have your nips covered and your little negligee.
You can't see anything. She looks like she's just wearing a black shirt.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
With the baby?
I did.
She's been obsessed with my cousin's baby.
6 weeks old.
Yeah, he's tiny.
The thing about that, though, is you can snuggle it and then you can give it back to its mom and go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had to close the door because Moo was running back and forth butt naked. And you couldn't see her, but I was like, okay, no.
Right.
In case you guys don't know, Moo is Penelope. That's their nickname.
Yeah, that's their nickname. Let's see. What's going on in the chat? I wouldn't begin to understand. I lost people close to me, but a child is different. Gemini said, my son died 3 times, and the last time he suffered brain injury. He is 30 and lives with us, probably always will.
Wow.
So a part of him is gone, and I'm happy and sad at the same time. That has to be a struggle.
Oh, God, I can't imagine.
I mean, for me, I went through some guilt after Peyton died because, and I told Rachel this because I was still working at the hospital. Well, I mean, I still work at a hospital, but a different hospital. And I was working in pediatrics, and there was a kid that came in that they had to do, cardiac stuff on. They had to do CPR and everything. And he wound up getting transferred to a children's hospital. And I was telling Rachel, I said, I miss Peyton like crazy, but I do not miss that.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird feeling because you miss him, but all the craziness that happened and, how sick he was and everything. And if you know Peyton's story, you know what I'm talking about. But with all his medical issues, and it's like I miss him, but I don't miss all that craziness. Like I don't miss that. I don't miss having to be those type of parents where it's like shuffling the other kid around, driving here, worrying that your kid's going to code in your backseat on your way home, like all that kind of the anxiety of it.
Right.
I
can't even imagine.
No, I'm not a nurse. I'm a rad tech. But I mean, me and my wife basically trained to be nurses and respiratory therapists so that Peyton could have come home. So
right. I mean, it's so different because when you're not a parent, you can't even begin to even touch upon any of that, But when I've got 2 boys, 1's 6 and 1's 16 or 7. Sorry, 1's 7 and 1's 16. Every time that we talk about Peyton, I just think about, well, what if that was Luke? I mean, I can't even. Every time I think about it, like I can't. Like I'm a very emotional person, and when it comes to any kind of like when I'm watching the news and there's a story about a child dying or a child getting shot or a child dying at the hands of the parents, the horrible things that happen in the world, any babysitter kills a kid, whatever the situation may be, I gotta turn it off. I can't, and that's one of the things that every anniversary that comes around, with Peyton, it's kind of like I mentally, I'm just like, shut down, can't think. And I'm not even the parent. I didn't even meet Peyton. And for me, I'm just like, shut it all down. I can't think. So if that's happened to me, I can only imagine what that's got to be like in your world,
It's just weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, me and Rachel have talked about it, but it's like when I look back at it, I don't know how we did it. Do you know how we did it? Like, took care of him? Like, it's just crazy.
I don't think you thought about it. I think it's kind of like, when you had your first kid, when you had Penelope, like I remember when I was pregnant with Sean, and when he came out and I had him in my hands, I looked at my husband, I looked at me, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, I don't know how to do this. How do I be a mom? It just happens one thing out. And that's kind of the same thing with Peyton is you don't just think, you just do. You just do one thing out. And that's pretty much what it is. It's a natural parental instinct. It's the same thing as taking care of a kid that's healthy. It's the same.
Yeah, that's true. It just happened. And like, we did it. Again, don't know how, but it's just when I look back on it, or Rachel and I talk about it, it's just crazy. Like, how did we manage? How did we manage it? I don't know.
Not only that, but with Penelope as well.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't ignore Penelope just to deal with Peyton. You had to do, you got one healthy child and one sick child. I mean, I can't even.
We had to split parenting roles.
Yeah.
One with one child and one with the other.
Right.
Yep.
Well, how are you feeling now? I mean, Peyton's anniversary is passed. You've had a lot of stuff going on. How do you feel now? I mean, how did you deal with this year? What did you do?
The actual day was better for me because we're opposite in the fact that on his anniversary, usually Rachel's the past few ones. I mean, there's not been many, but I'm usually in bed all day, crying, drinking, sleeping. That's usually what I do all day. This past anniversary, I didn't. I just tried to stay busy. I don't know, did work around the house, cleaned, just was on the go all day. But I don't think that was the right choice to make because I kind of
once again, you did exactly what you naturally do. You find other work. You weren't at work physically because you took PTO. So you found work to do within the dwelling you were in. So once again, you didn't face the shadows at all. All you did was push them aside to go paint your front door.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why the extended dark shadows and depression came about. That's why, because you didn't face it at all and you just let it carry through to where we are now, the end of October, and now you're finally kicking out of it. Well, that was 2 months ago.
Right, exactly. That's the thing now. No, I don't want you to go. I just don't want
you can't see anything. She looks fine.
Is that okay? Yeah. That's exactly what happened. And then, it creeps in and creeps in and creeps in. And then here we are. But
good night, Cindy. That mystical lady had to go. She's going to get up early tomorrow in the morning.
Oh, good night.
Hey, Karen, look what I'm using. Woo, woo. I stole it back from my kitty because he stole it. It's so awesome. This is like the perfect Florida blankie because it's the big crochet, so it keeps you warm but keeps you cool at the same time. It's like the perfect thing ever. So because I'm wearing shorts.
Where is the kitty? Are you going to introduce him to the people?
Oh, hold please.
There's a new family member. I never thought I would see the day, but I'm so excited that she did this. This was like a spur of the moment situation. I can't believe that she's just now showing you magic. 38 minutes into the live. She's fake as fuck. Craziness. Yo, yo, yo. Uh-oh, I see a shadow. Oh my goodness, that baby.
So, Magic. His name is Magic. There he is. He's a little kitty. He's only, what are you, 11 weeks old now? Where are you going?
He's camera shy.
Here, I'll put you on the pillow. Can you hold on a second? Hold please. There you go. Magic came into our house last Tuesday. This Tuesday just passed. On my day off. I've wanted a kitten for a while, and I'm dealing with some issues with my older son. And I figured, you know what? A kitten would really bring this family together. Not to mention, I just really wanted a kitten. So I called up a local shelter. There was a couple of kittens available. He was one of them. And I pretty much just told my husband we were getting it, and that was that. Because he told me, no, we're not doing any cats or kittens. No. And now he loves the kitten. So
of course he does.
I won. So Magic, spelled Magick, the witchy spelling of the word magic, is part of our family now. He's back there chilling on the little. What are you doing? There's nothing under there. Okay. We got him at 10 weeks old, so he's almost 11. What's going on? He's almost 11 weeks old now. Those of you who follow me on Facebook or Insta or both or whatever have seen many little pictures of him. He's teeny tiny, super fluffy, super cute, loves to cuddle. He warmed up to us within 3 days. Now he sleeps in our bed. Last night he felt I was on my back sleeping, and I woke up to his head like on my shoulder and his body on the bed. So he was just had his head on my shoulder, which he likes to do. Yeah, I paid $10 for him. So him and his litter mates were found probably like behind a dumpster at a shopping plaza or something like that, and someone brought him into the animal shelter, and they got him all healthy and made sure they're all healthy, and then, put him up for adoption. So I went in there and I grabbed him. And the funny thing about Magic, and this is part of the reason why we called him Magic, is because when you walk into the Orange County Animal Shelter, you go into the kitten facility or the cat facility, and you have an interaction with whatever cat you like. They give you an interaction slip. You are to go to the front desk, which is a little bit of a hike from the kitten kennel area, and go, you adopt the cat. You pay the money and all that kind of stuff. Well, there was a couple that walked in right before us, and they interacted with Magic and had an interaction form filled out. But they wanted to adopt a dog, too. So they went over to the dog kennels right when we walked in and met Magic. His name was like Jaws, or they gave him like a kennel name.
Yeah.
We changed his name, but it was pure magic that we walked in and they wanted to go to the dog facility, because basically I was like, I want him. And she goes, okay, well, that couple that was in there before you, they want him too. I'm going to give you this interaction slip. Run to the front desk and go pay for him. So literally we stole Magic out from underneath the feet of this other couple. So we got to the front desk and paid for him and adopted him before the other couple could. So it's just pure magic and pure, intention that I really, really wanted a cat. And ever since he's been here, he's brought the family together, because I'm having issues with my teenage son, my 16-year-old. And it was really weird because I brought him home, and all of a sudden the family was all in one room, petting and playing and talking, communicating. Thing that Magic he was magic. He brought us back together because our family just started to kind of do some weird twisty turny things. Having a teenager will suck the life right out of you. So he was pure magic. He was pure set my intention, and here he is, huh, baby? Huh. So that if you follow me on Facebook or Insta, you've seen Magic. He's the cutest cat ever. And he's so pretty that even when he, grows up and becomes a cat, he's going to be a gorgeous cat. So there's that. There's the new Tomasi to the family, Magic Tomasi. Now you know him.
Now you know him. Now you know.
Now you know him.
So what do you think your biggest struggle has been, or shadow? What have you been facing? I can tell you what I think you've been facing.
You're like, bitch.
Self-worth.
I have so many. But yeah, you're right. The biggest one as of the past couple of months has been almost as kind of a replay, but in a completely different category as yours is the self-worth, self-esteem. Like, especially with my job changing, and they told me I didn't, I was this level in the academy, and they told me that I didn't make this level, that I had to go here. I'm like, oh, so I'm not good enough? I'm a piece of shit? Is that what you're telling me, a piece of shit?
That was a hard time for you, though. It
was hard because I had, I've been with the company for 10 years, worked my way up from very, 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 very bottom as a cashier to now being an assistant store manager. So it's one of those things, and this is not, some mom and pop retail company. This is the biggest retailer in the world. Even though Amazon is giving us a run for our money, we're still number one by a hair, but we're still number one. And it's just one of those things where when I didn't make that cut, I lost it. I lost it. I mean, I think I voice messaged you and Vicky there for a bit in tears. You know, I'm like, I didn't make it. But at the same time, when I moved to this new store and now I'm an assistant store manager, I'm out of the academy. I'm not teaching anymore. I'm not under the same management that I was in the old store. I walked into that store and it was the weirdest feeling. I walked in and I'm like, and I met Juan, the store manager, and I'm like, wow, he's just got this energy, this, you know, exuberating, fun, smile, energy, and is cracking jokes just like I do, you know, sense of humor. And, you know, hey, I'm Juan. Nice to meet you. I'm so excited you're here. And then I met the rest of the management team that work alongside him. And they're like, oh my God, it's Brittany. Like, they were all excited to see me. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay then. But at the same time, I have 12 months in this assistant store manager position in this new store. As amazing as it is, and I love the team and I love the store, and I still love the company, don't get me wrong. I have 12 months to prove myself. And yes, I love going to work now. I love the store. I love the management team, but I still have these 12 months to prove that I can go up to the next level. And like on what day was it? Yesterday, we were going over some Black Friday stuff in the trailers or something. And I was walking with management. And I'm like, am I even cut out for this? Like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not good enough for this. And it started to play in my head. Brittany, you're not good enough for this. Why you can't do this Black Friday? So you can't take charge and just take over a whole store's Black Friday. You can't be the champion of this. Like, you can't do this. It started doing that shit in my head again. And I'm walking outside. I'm keeping a smile on my face. Like, yes, absolutely, Juan. That'd be so easy to do. We're going to do that. Yeah, we're going to get it. In my head, I'm like, I can't do this. And it's the biggest shadow I have is that I'm not good enough for where I'm at. And it's not just my career. It's everything. I'm not good enough to have, what do I have now? 2,000 something, 2,700, I don't know, whatever, subscribers on YouTube. I'm like, I'm not good enough for that. They're just subscribing out of pity. These are the things that go through my fucking head. And I'm like, why is people subscribing to me? I just sit there and talk about dumb shit, you know? And it's just one of those things where it's my mind playing a trick on my own mind. It knows how to get to me, so it's doing it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, my self-worth sucks. Like, I'm not worthy for anything. You know, my best friends, my family, I'm like, why do you even like me? I'm annoying. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say I hate myself because I don't hate myself, but I'm not my biggest fan. Like, you know that song by Pink? What the hell is it where she punches the mirror? You know the video?
That's always her. She's always punching something.
But it's that video where she's like, oh, don't let me get me. That song. That is my anthem, because she's all caught up in her own head of how she's not good enough, how she did this wrong in high school. She did this wrong in her life. You know, she's her own worst enemy.
Yes. That's
me. Everything I do, I'm like, oh, how did I achieve that? I must have cheated because there's no way I could have gotten that. You know, all this shit. It's so stupid. Like, someone gave me a compliment on my shirt that I had the other day, because for this new assistant store manager job, I bought a whole new wardrobe. I mean, classy clothes, the whole 9 yards. And I show up to work and they're like, oh my God, girl, look at you, all classy. And I had this one guy, Robert, who I work with. He's like, Bernie, he's like, I just got to say, that shirt, like, you got it going on. That looks amazing. And I'm like, oh.
That's when you get HR and you file sexual harassment claim.
No, he meant it in a very respectable way.
I'm just kidding.
He's like, you are so classy. Like, that is class. Like, that shirt, that whole outfit is class. And I'm like, I didn't know how to say thank you. Like, it felt wrong being like, hey, thanks. Like, normal people do. I couldn't. I was like, oh yeah, I just am picked up. You know, I couldn't accept a compliment. Like, it's so stupid. It annoys the crap out of me. My self-worth.
You don't know how to accept a compliment. And neither do I. That's something we both struggle with. But I mean, I remember when you were going through that move, not even a month or so ago.
I got the shingles because of it. Yeah.
And your hot water heater exploded.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
And the handy guy told you about a ghost. He asked her why he was fixing it, if she's seen the ghost, and she was like, "What?"
So what happened was, On the week of my birthday, I took the week of my birthday off. I still didn't know, if I was going to stay or go in the academy, if I got in the position or not. And I didn't get demoted. I mean, that's the first thing there. I did not get demoted. I just basically stepped out of the academy and stepped sideways is all I did, and changed stores, which was a blessing in disguise. And I'll tell you in a minute why. But that same week, I had to have my teeth done twice. Two dentist appointments where they were like drilling and shit, and one of them they didn't say Novocaine all the way, so I felt the drilling. That is a whole. I don't even want to get into that shit. I come home one day and my hot water heater exploded. There's just water flying all over the place. My hot water heater's in the garage. Thank God. I got a car wash for free. But my husband's on the golf course, so I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? So they finally called the maintenance dude guy, whatever, that fixes that shit, and who used to own the house or whatever. And he's fixing. He's like, I really don't like the way they build these houses. My house is brand new. My house was built like 3-4 years ago. It's brand new. And he's like, I don't like the way they build these houses and put the hot water heater in the garage. And it's piss poor planning. And I'm like, well, we haven't had any issues yet. Like, I mean, this is the first issue we've had in this house. We've been here for 1.5 years now. And he looks at me, he goes, oh, so you haven't seen the ghost? And I went, no. And he goes, oh, well, that's not right then. I'm like, wait, what?
I'm coming over with the Ouija board and we're raising it up.
I mean, that ghost is probably loving the fact that I live here, but yeah, I don't know if he was playing with me or not, but he looked at me dead serious. He goes, oh, so you haven't seen the ghost? And I'm just dead serious. Like, did not have a crack of smile, no tone in the voice, no nothing. And I'm like, wait, what?
Good night, beautiful girl.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Penelope.
Love you.
Thanks, Gemini.
When you come in, can you tuck me in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, how cute. So I would definitely say my self-worth. My skills as a mom have recently been tested to the point where I'm like, I suck at this. I'm not doing this right. I'm fucking this up 7 ways to Sunday. My 16-year-old is
honestly, I'm so glad you're going through this.
Why?
Because it's helping me.
So my 16-year-old, from everybody I've talked to, is just being a 16-year-old, honestly. But I always said to myself, not my kids. But the sneaking out of the house through his window, yep, that's happened. Smoking pot. Granted, smoking pot is not that big of a deal, but it's my kid, so I'm still kind of like, not my kids. That would never, and everybody I talk to, they're like, that's it, that's all he's done. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's all he's done. And they're like, that's nothing. Like, he's just being 16. And maybe so, but I mean, this is my kid. Teenagers will suck the fucking life out of you, because it broke my heart when I found out he had snuck out his window and was out at night. When I found out he was smoking weed, it was just kind of one of those things. I was just like, no, not my kids. I mean, that's my baby. It's my firstborn,
Yeah.
And that's honestly where Magic the Kitten has brought us together, because things have changed since I got this little kitty. Everybody in this house is all over this little kitty. The kids come home from school. Where's the kitty? They want to snuggle with him. They want to pet him. They want to play with him. It's amazing how a kitten can bring a family together, which totally helped. But I'm dealing with that too. Like, am I inadequate? Like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong that is creating my kid to not be happy? When we talked to Sean about sneaking out of his bedroom, I said, where were you? He said, I went for a walk. And I said, you went for a walk? Well, it's 10 o'clock at night on a school night. You can't, this is 2020. You can't just go for a walk.
Yeah.
That's the reason why a curfew is when the streetlights go on, you come inside, because it's 2020. I mean, people are killing people, people are stabbing people, people are doing whatever just for kicks. It's 2020.
Yeah.
So, I want him in when it gets dark outside. And he's like, Mom, I can take care of myself. I'm like, you're still my kid. You're 16, but I still look at you as if you're 5. You're still my baby, And in conversation, there was a lot of other things said, but in conversation, he had said, you know, there's sometimes I wake up so depressed that I want to kill myself. I lost it. I absolutely lost it. I start crying. I'm just, what am I not providing him? I give him everything under the sun, everything. You know, he wants a new phone, I get him a new phone. He wants new clothes, we go get new clothes. I give him, he's got the whole first floor of the house to himself. Those of you who don't know, I live in a three-floor house. You know, the witch room here is on the 3rd floor. You know, he's got the whole first floor to himself. You know, it's one of those things where I'm just, what am I not doing right that he would feel that way? You know, and when we caught him smoking pot with his friend in the house, mind you, he said he woke up the next day and was so depressed that his parents were so disappointed in him because he knew that Anthony and I, and he sees Anthony as his dad. Anthony's been around him since he was 4, you know, so he sees Anthony as his father. And when we caught him and we told him how disappointed we were in him, you know, he woke up the next day saying that I felt so depressed that I wanted to kill myself because I didn't like the fact that my parents were disappointed in me. And I said, yeah, we are disappointed in you because you're my kid. You know, as minimal as marijuana is and as small of a deal it is, you know, you're, even if it was legal in Florida, you're still underage regardless. You're still too young to be smoking. You know, he's 16 and it tore me to pieces. And that's just something that I've been dealing with right now is my 16-year-old, you know? So everybody I talk to is just telling me, hey, Brittany, he's just being a teenager. And that probably is true. But as a parent, you think to yourself, what am I doing wrong? You know, and it sucks. And I'm gonna have to do this twice because Luke is only 7 and he's gonna hit that age as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's also, I mean, I don't know because I don't have any teenagers, but it's like you're used to being able to control and know what's best for them and keeping them on track. And then when they get old enough, like whatever is going on in their own mind and in their own heart can make them depressed. And, you know, we've talked about this. It's like they don't know how to manage their feelings. At the end of the day, you don't know how to manage your feelings when you're that age. And
Right.
you know, they're going through, their hormones are raging. And, you know, this whole COVID thing has everyone acting crazy and school pressures and peer pressure and just all this shit just builds on these kids. So I don't think it's anything you're doing, but, you know, especially as a mother, society always blames the mom.
Yeah.
And the moms always blame moms.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a tough road to be on. But I mean, all in all, it is your fault because you could have swallowed and you chose not to.
True story. You know, so that's been hard, but it's getting better. And honestly, the cat is as stupid as that sounds. I know it sounds so dumb. And I'm constantly posting pictures of Magic on Instagram and Facebook, and I feel like maybe I shouldn't post so many pictures because people get annoyed with that. But it's like having a child all over again, having this little kitten. Ain't
Yeah.
that right?
I'll be right back. And Brittany, if you want to keep talking, I'm just going to go tuck Penelope in real quick.
Okay. Where did he go? Let me guess. He's probably behind the... Did you fall behind there? Where did he go? He's in here somewhere. I'm going to find you, little kitty. Little kitty cat. Anyway, so chat-wise, shadow work. What is the kind of hardest shadow you guys have had to kind of battle out and deal with? Yeah, I don't know where he's at. He's in here somewhere. He's probably underneath the bureau or something. He's hiding somewhere. What is some shadow work you guys have had to deal with that has been so difficult and so hard to do? Because some people don't even like to do it at all. Magic, I hear your bell. Where are you? See, now I realize why cats have bells. Because you have to know where they're at. Magic. He probably fell behind. Where'd you go? I'm gonna tear my whole room apart trying to find the cat. Magic! Put it in the bureau.
I'm back. Sorry.
I'm trying to find Magic. He's like somewhere in the room. I hear his bell. Oh, he's under the bureau. I found him. Crazy cat. I was asking the chat some of the shadow work that they've had to deal with. What was the kind of hardest shadow work that they've had to face and deal with? And then I was trying to find Magic, who went underneath the bureau, underneath the altar.
I'm dead here. That's 100% true. But, you know, society tells you different stuff. And here's the thing is I've lost a lot of friends, a lot of friendships since Peyton died. So that happens. But everyone does grieve differently. Everyone handles grief differently. And nothing, as long as you're not self-harming or harming others, you have to grieve as long as you're willing to progress and learn. Everybody deals differently. Dealing with your anger, I'm hurting the people I love. It's killing me.
See, that's really funny for me to hear her say that because, I mean, I've never met Karen, obviously, you know, face to face and hung out with her in person. But I've known her in every other way, you know, for many, many years. And to hear the anger is one of her shadows kind of shocks me a little bit, just because the way I know Karen is to be so not angry. You know what I mean? So giving, so happy. So no, she's not always happy, but you know, the complete opposite of what she's saying, you know? So that's kind of a little shocking to me that you have an anger shadow.
Yeah.
But then it goes to the whole thing of, you know, people talk about, you know, online versus offline, and they always say like, oh, in real life, you know.
I mean, for me, I think, I don't know. I know we differ. I don't think online is real life. I think online affects your real life, but when you can cultivate your image.
See, I disagree.
It's not. You're only getting one part. I'm not saying it doesn't affect it and it's not real, but it's definitely, as we have seen, it's easy for people to be whatever they want to be online, whether it's true or not.
I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, I honestly feel like no matter how much you try, unless you're a professional actress or actor, no matter how much you try to, your real self is going to show through, even if you're portraying.
Eventually, yes, I agree with that.
You know, and you've seen me, you've hung out with me, God, like numerous times. You've known me for many, many, many years. I'm the same deal. Your online is off. Like,
You're not. You're completely different.
Yeah, I am what you get. Whatever. And I have no shame. I really don't. I don't give two fucks. Like I just don't. Like, you know.
Yeah. Fuck that.
So I wear saging a lot because I just feel like sometimes when you're talking about some deep, heavy stuff, you just
need to
you gotta sage. You know, you gotta cleanse the the area. So saging is one of those things I like to do when I'm talking about this kind of stuff.
And honestly, for me, I think I don't even know why this came into my head. My transitioning to womanhood was my aversion to dealing with my own trauma.
You think?
I think.
So
But
you don't think that you would ever do that again?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I have an interest in doing drag as entertainment because I think my personality would really fit there, and it's a way that I could express myself. But I don't have a desire to live my life as a woman like I did before.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up very sheltered and very sheltered, I guess is the right word. And I didn't really understand gay, trans, all of this. And I was so hurt by the things that took place, you know, in my childhood that I just wanted to be a completely different person. I just didn't want to be that person. And instead of dealing with that, I found myself at a place where I could just be somebody completely different, like literally completely different. And, you know, that only lasts so long. Are you reading my messages? You should.
No. Hold on a second. No, I actually wasn't reading your message, but now that you say that. No, I was reading Shadowlander's comment.
Shadowlander. Mine has been working on self-confidence. I'm picking my nose. Wow. Yeah.
So, with the shadows that you're dealing with now as a reflection of your childhood, how have you dealt with those?
I'm still dealing with it, I think. I don't think I fully... I jumped so far in to transitioning, and then when I detransitioned, which I wouldn't say I really even had to detransition, but when I stopped living like that, I had to face some things, but I'm not as vocal and as a part of the LGBT community as I should be. And that's something that weighs on me.
Why do you think that is, that you don't live as part of that community?
I don't know why. I feel guilt. I don't know why. I don't know where the guilt comes from, but I feel guilt. And it's probably because I'm a piece of shit. That's how I feel. Yeah. And that's all, folks. Now.
I mean, I don't know. For me, it's kind of one of those things where my childhood was... I have an older brother who is a year older than me. Almost 2 years. He's like a year and a half older than me. That is dead to me. Who does not exist in my world at all. Who beat me. Not just like, you know, kids beating up kids or kids rough playing and rough housing with the siblings. Not like that. I mean, serious physical abuse to the point where if you go to 518 Webster Street in Marshfield, Massachusetts, and you pull up the kitchen tile, I don't know what the kitchen tile is now because it's been many years, but if you pull up that kitchen tile by the doorway, you'll see a big blood stain from where he beat me so much that I bled into the floor. and he had an anger management problem. He took it on me. I mean, he beat me to my nose bled, to my face bled, to all sorts of different things. It was like having an abusive parent or having an abusive boyfriend or whatever. That same kind of abuse, that anger that he just beat me senseless. And
what did your parents do about that?
My mom sided with my brother. You antagonized him. Yep. She said, you antagonized him. And I remember he had beat me up in the kitchen because I didn't do the dishes. Because my mom had called, she was at work, and called him and said, make Brittany do the dishes. And I was a kid. I don't know why I didn't do them, but I remember not doing them. And finally he grabbed me and brought me to the kitchen, and I said, okay, well, if you stop being angry, I'll do them, but stop yelling, like stop being a dick, basically. And I believe I was 12, 13. No, I was 14. He just started wailing on me, just started hitting me to the point where I fell to the ground, just kept on punching to my nose bled. And it bled so bad that it went down into the tile, and they had to remove the tile from the kitchen and put down linoleum, but they never removed the blood stain. So it's still there. So, he beat me so bad. And I never forgave him for it. And now as an adult, we don't speak. When my mom and my dad passed away, he didn't give me any of my father or my mother's belongings. When my dad passed away, I was living in New Jersey at the time. I was married, living in New Jersey, and I didn't drive, so I couldn't get to my dad's services. But my brother didn't save anything of his for me. My mom passed away. My brother took everything. Didn't give me anything of hers. Took all of her ashes. I didn't get any of that. And I just decided, you're dead to me. You are not my brother. You're not my sibling. I want nothing to do with you. And then I remember when I moved down here to Florida, I was working as a department manager in one of the stores here in Florida, and I got a text message. Hey, Taylor just had so-and-so baby name and weight. And I go, who is this? Like, it's your cousin Michelle. And I said, why are you texting me this? She said, I thought you want to know that your brother it was his first child. And I go, I don't care. He's dead to me. I don't care about his kids or him. Please lose my number. I want nothing to do with this side of my family. I want nothing to do with you people. And she's like, well, I'm very sorry to hear that. And she never texted me ever again. But there's just so much trauma from, I tried to commit suicide when I was 16 years old because I felt that my mom always sided with my brother. Well, you antagonize, you brought it on, you bring it on, you egg him on to the point where he hits you. She would always side with him because I was the kid that my mom didn't want. My mom wanted my brother, but I was an accident. And I found this out to be true at my mom's funeral, and that's another story. But I tried to commit suicide when I was 16 by taking a whole bottle of Tylenol, not just, Tylenol you get over the counter, like BJ's size or Sam's Club size, like family size. Like it was a good 700 pills. And I spent a good hour and a half down in them all and completely out of it. I woke up in the hospital the next day. I remember taking the pills. I was sitting on my bedroom floor taking the pills, but I don't remember anything after that. And I woke up the next day with a tube down my nose into my throat with charcoal being pumped in my system. And I did it because I was done. There was nothing I could do to get out from underneath being beat every day. If I said the wrong thing, or I didn't take the dog out, or I didn't do the dishes, or whatever it may be, I was beaten up and I couldn't deal with it anymore. My parents were divorced. So after I ended up trying to kill myself and I got well enough, they decided that the best thing would be for me to go live with my dad, because I've always been a daddy's girl anyway, but I had to live with my dad to be healthier, because I couldn't live with my mom and my brother anymore because she was not protecting me in any way, shape, or form, because I was the kid she didn't want. So long story short, the reason why I'm alive to this day and I have a life is because my dad wanted me and my mother didn't. My dad had said, okay, I'll if you don't want any more kids, it's fine. I'll go get my snip. And he told my mom he did, but he didn't. And then came me, a year later. So my mom resented him and resented me because he had lied to her and said he got himself fixed and didn't, and there was me. So my mom never wanted me, and she treated me as such. So I grew up my whole life, and that's where that insecurity comes from, I think, that self-worth, because I grew up with my brother and my mother telling me that I'm a piece of shit. I mean, straight up, I'm a piece of shit. You know, my mother always say, why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like your brother? And I always say, I'm not my brother. I'm not. You know, so my brother was the prized possession. And even my husband, Anthony, can contest that. He met Taylor, my brother, and said, wow, what a pompous ass. You know, he from the outside of looking in, you know, he saw the way Taylor was. About a year ago, I tried to write my brother this long email to try to reconcile and put the past in the past. And I wrote this long email of everything that hurt me, and with everything that hurt me, I try to talk about everything that I was going to forgive him for. Never got a response. He never wrote back. And so at least I tried. And at that point, I know that I've done everything I can to try to be the bigger adult, to try to move on with my life. But writing that email, oh God, was it tough. I had to have a couple of glasses of wine to even write it. And cried the whole time writing it. It was because it was shadow work. I had to sit there and face every single thing that he did
and relive it.
It sucked, but sending that email, it hurt not to get a response. But in the end, did I really want a response? You know, part of me is like, maybe it's better off that I didn't get a response, because maybe Taylor hasn't changed and he's still a pompous ass. I feel bad for his 2 kids and his wife if he still has anger management problems. How do I know he's not beating her? If he beat me as a kid, and like I said to you guys, like I know you guys obviously weren't there, but it was not just horseplay of 2 kids playing around. It was beat me black and blue over dumb shit. So it's that, I think, played a huge part. My mother not, giving birth to me, not really wanting me. My dad wanted me, but when my dad passed away, he was the only one that wanted me. So it was kind of like, well, there's that. He's gone. And that, when he died, it was the death of my own family. I didn't have any family left after that, because once he died, it was, So I've kind of come into the role of, and I think that's why I created a family at 19 years old. Fresh out of high school, I got married, got sent away with my husband, who was, Sean's dad, who was in the Air Force. We got sent away to Germany, and I started a family and had a kid so young because I needed to create my own family to
supplement
get
that.
away from my own family. I had to start over, and I wanted to love something, and I wanted to be loved, and because I didn't get that, so I started my family really, really young. And then, even now, getting married and being married and having kids having a family is everything to me. I think that's why it hurt so much to see my son doing teenage things. I get it. But, I don't want to see him going through any kind of hardship that I went through, because I know how much hell it was to go through what I went through. I don't want to see him suffer in any way and be depressed or want to kill himself because I did that. I was there, so watching him go through that, I always said, not my kids, not my kids, not my kids. But I just feel like my kid is going through it. So I'm trying now everything to stop him from feeling like, he's not a piece of shit. And he's like, Mom, I'm not smart. I'm like, yes, you are. He's doing the same shit that I did when I was a teenager, the self-worth thing. I mean, it sucks, but these shadows are things that I've had to face head on and realize that I am the way I am today because I had to deal with those things, because of those things that happened to me as a kid. So That's pretty much, that's the big shadow right there that was the offspring for all the other little shadows that have trickled in through my life. That's where the stem, the root cause of a lot of it is.
Well, and that's the thing, when you're seeing Sean go through this stuff, like, that was a traumatic event. So the fact that he's going through this, it automatically takes you back to that place, and you start to get in that survival mode where it's like he cannot feel the way I felt. You know what I mean? Because for you, it makes it real for you all over again, and that's hard.
Right.
Who wants that for their kid? But you're not your mom.
I know,
Like,
and I do everything opposite of her, like everything the opposite of her. I mean, I tried to make sure that Sean and Luke they're almost smothered by me, to be honest with you. I mean, I overlove these kids, because I don't want them to ever feel like they were a mistake. I mean, both my kids I tried for, so both my kids I wanted. Not to say that accidents are something that's not wanted, but my mother specifically tried to get my dad to be fixed, and he chose not to because he wanted kids, and she didn't. So he thought he'd lie and it would turn out good, but it didn't turn out so good. But I'm forever thankful my dad did lie, because I wouldn't be here. If he had actually done, I wouldn't be here. And it's so weird, the smallest of things like that. My dad said, you know what? No, I want another kid, so I'll just tell her I did it, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I found that out at my mother's funeral. I sat down and I was at a table, and Anthony was next to me. We weren't married yet, but he was sitting next to me, and my mother's best friends came and sat next to me and said, wow, you look so much like your mom. And I'm like, oh, thanks. My mom was a very, very pretty lady. And I was like, oh, thanks. And we just got talking and in conversation. And Susan said to me, she said, I'm just going to tell you something because I think you're okay to hear it now. The whole story. She said, do you remember when you used to come to our house as a little girl and we'd send you upstairs with Alyssa and she'd give you makeovers? And I said, yeah, those were always fun times. She goes, well, the reason why we sent you upstairs with Alyssa to give you makeovers when you were a little girl is because your mom had come to our house to talk because she was so fed up with being a mom to you. And I'm like, wait, what? She's like, you were the accident that was not supposed to happen. And I said, whoa, what's going on? Then her husband, Michael, was like, Susan, I don't think she should hear this right now at her mother's funeral. And Susan, and I said, no, I want to hear it. Please, my mom's gone. I want to hear it. And Susan said, well, she would come to our house and we'd send you upstairs with Alyssa and we'd sit there at the kitchen table and have coffee and talk. And she would talk about how she doesn't want you anymore, about how you were a mistake and you weren't supposed to exist. And she doesn't know how to deal with you. And to hear all this stuff, it all clicked. I was like, that's why my mother treated me the way she treated me growing up, was because I was that mistake that wasn't supposed to exist. And she didn't know how to deal with it. And I was just like, I thanked her. I was like, thank you for telling me this because this will give me some closure to the way I was treated as a kid. Because I couldn't make heads or tails of it. How a mom could do that, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. But it all made sense. And I was able to forgive my mother, even though she had passed away. I was able to forgive her because I finally knew the truth, So it all came to light that, I was the accident that shouldn't have happened. And gosh, I'm glad it did happen. But still, these are just the things that they stay with you. You don't realize how these things stay with you and shape your life for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. There's my big shadow. Cat's out of the bag. Speaking of cat.
I mean, for me, I was never physically abused or sexually abused or anything from my parents. I was inadvertently, I would say, emotionally abused, just because I always lived in fear that if anybody knew who I was, I wouldn't be loved. We went to church 3 or 4 nights a week, Bible studies. We had this group for the kids, little people, and you would go to nursing homes, go to all these places and sing and do plays. And when you're hearing about fags burning in hell and all this shit, it makes you feel scared. You know what I mean? So I always lived that way. And I think that's a big stem of just how I am, why I am. And always questioning myself, always, doubting my abilities because I was never taught that confidence. I was always told, be yourself. But it's like, okay, you're telling me to be myself, but that's not what I'm hearing at church. That's not what I'm hearing at home. You know what I mean? You hear all this negative shit and it's like, but you don't know that I am that. You don't know that I do like guys. And my parents aren't going to love me anymore. I'm not going to have any friends anymore. You think that from a very young age, and it's detrimental to your psyche. It just fucks you up.
Yeah. Because you think you're just going to grow up to be basically going in the bottom of someone's shoe.
You're never going to be good enough. You're never, it accounts for everything. You're never going to be smart enough. You're never going to be funny enough, thin enough, good enough, nothing, because at the end of the day, you're a filthy, disgusting sinner. And however you feel is nasty and against God, you're against nature, you're nothing. And that just goes and touches every little part of your life.
So, I mean, now you have a marriage and kids and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, it's almost like surreal. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you went through this thing as a child. Like, I will never have these luxuries that everybody else gets. And now you're like, booyah in your face.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird because you don't know at the time, like you said, like you don't know how these things are going to affect you. They're just happening. And then you get older and it's like, shit, like it's just insane how these things happen in your childhood just affect everything that you do, the decisions that you make, how you handle your life, how you mother your kids, how you get into relationships, why you get into relationships. It's all like connected to this such small part of your life. And it's the part of your life that you're not emotionally capable of handling. Like it's so reliant on your parents and your family to like develop you. And if they fuck with that, you know what I mean? Like it's scary.
We always try to do better than what our parents did. You know, like I always try to make sure I don't do any of the stuff that I saw as a kid, you know, and it's weird how you get hardened to things. Like, you know, a lot of people think that I don't have feelings or that I'm this hard, tough, independent person. But to the contrary, I'm actually probably more emotional than people realize. I just hide it very, very well. Like, I think it was Gemini who was saying earlier in the chat that she cries at movies. Like, I will try, if I'm watching a movie with somebody, I'll try everything I possibly can not to cry. But if I'm alone, I'll just let it go. Like things like that. Like, why am I afraid to show any emotion in front of other people? But if I'm by myself watching a movie that's sad, I can cry easily at that. You know what I mean? Like,
it's because you're programmed to think sadness, like crying is weakness.
Yeah.
It's not, you know,
right.
It's all about exerting power. And for some reason, you know, we have this idea that crying is not a sign of strength. You know,
I mean, I know that I always feel really, really better like after a good cry, but
yeah,
you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just one of those things where like, you know, a sad moment will happen in a movie. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. You know, like holding my eyes open. Like, I'm like, don't cry.
Yeah.
You know, the minute, you know, I'm watching a movie by myself, I'm like, okay, it's all good to cry now.
Like we were watching Stranger Things. I don't know if anybody has seen Stranger Things. But we were watching that and it was the end of season 1 and there was a scene happening where a child is basically in cardiac arrest. And so they're doing like CPR and everything. And it just takes you back to that moment. And I just start crying, but I'm always good with crying. I'm like, I'll cry. I have no problem crying anywhere, anytime. If I feel the notion to cry, bitch, I'm crying.
What are you looking at?
Sorry, I didn't realize I typed something. So I was like, how did I get there? But yeah, I'm crazy. But as far as like not making the same mistakes your parents have, I don't. I'm all about love everybody, treat everybody with respect. Like I want to take Penelope to the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, the Memorial. I want her to understand why it's so important to love everybody and to treat people with love and to treat people with respect. Like you have to teach these kids this or they're going to go fucking crazy.
Yeah. You know, and to Gemini's point, she was saying basically at my grandma's funeral, I was 11 and I cried. My aunt said, don't cry. Your mom needs you to be strong. That's also, like, when Anthony was in the hospital and I was in the emergency room with him, like, actually in the room, and when I realized how serious things were, I was sitting there doing the whole, like, open my eyes really, really wide so I don't cry thing. So I got irritated, and I got irritated with the nurse because we were in the ER. He hadn't gotten to his own room yet. I got irritated with the ER nurse because I wanted him to have his own room. And the reason why I wanted him to have his own room so that I could leave and cry. Honestly, that's really what it was. I was like, I can't hold this much longer. Like, they got to get him his own room so we can get the hell out of here. And I remember when they finally got him his own room, when we walked out of the ER room there, he went this way and I went this way. And he went this way towards the elevators, like the whole desks of the whole ER is in the middle there. He went around this way to the elevator, and I went this way to go out the front door. And I remember looking over and seeing him pass through, and he was waving at me, but I couldn't because the tears had already started to, and I was like going like this. I couldn't let him see, and I'm walking like this because I couldn't let him see. And I remember like literally like fast-paced walking to the front door. Like I was fast-paced walking, got to the front door and just let it all. I mean, I couldn't breathe. I was like holding my breath. I got to the front door, got outside and just let it all out. Walked to the car, and I think that's when I texted you or I voiced it, and I just cried in the car for, God, it had to have been an hour or two. Sat in that emergency room parking lot and just I let loose. But that's the thing that it's built into my head, like, oh my God, I can't act like, because if it bothers me and he knows it bothers me, then he's going to realize, if he doesn't realize already how serious it is, like, he's going to realize if I'm upset, he's going to realize, you know what I mean? Like, I had to be like, oh, everything's good, you know? So it's one of those things where I think I was also told, you know, you have to remain strong. I remember calling Gus, my old boss, to tell him what was going on. And the first thing he said to me was, you got to remain strong for him. He was even telling me that. Like, you got to keep it together, Brittany. You got to keep it together. Because I was crying on the phone. And my boss was telling me I had to keep it together. Brittany, you got to be strong. You got to keep it together. And I'm like, you know, the whole moral of the story is you don't have to keep it together.
No, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. It's bullshit.
I thought I felt a cat at my foot. I guess not. Magic, I know you're in here somewhere. Do you want to come out? Are you under the bureau still?
I'm a whore.
I gotta temp your games.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Do you want me to open the door so you can leave? I don't know where you are, but I heard your bell.
That came in like a fireball. Oh, fuck.
Go ahead, Magic. If you want to leave, I'll open the door for you. Want to go snuggle with Daddy?
This is burning all the bullshit out of my life.
Why does your sage burn like that?
I don't know. It's from this weird little like this store called Walmart. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but
no. Who's ever goes to Walmart these days? Jesus. You know, but I also think with talking about, you know, shadows and having to deal with it, what about the people who don't? What about the people out there who don't deal with shadow work or don't deal with these things? I mean, how do you even like live? I mean, do you think maybe that's where some of the mental issues come from with people?
Yeah, I do. I think people have mental breaks.
Because they're not sitting down and dealing with it. And I think our practice, our craft forces us to, where a lot of other religions or spiritual practices don't force you to. So they're cooping it all up and thinking that's healthy, you know? Gemini Grey Wolf was saying, let's face it, everyone has issues. And there used to be a show, and I wish the show was still on TV. It was like something like Everybody Has a Story was the title of it. And it was just this guy, this journalist who would go around to random cities and just ask people on the street to tell him a story of their life. And you start to realize that these strangers that you pass at the local grocery store, the gas station, everybody has a story. And it was just a cool show because it would show that the everyday Joe Schmo that you don't think twice about, that you walk by, has some. Yes. I mean, some of these stories were incredible, like insane, you know, either depressing or hardships or trauma or even good stuff too. You know, it wasn't just bad, but everybody has some kind of story. And
I used to want to, this is kind of funny that you mention it, but I used to, when I was in high school, one of the things I wanted to do was actually go around, and it's still something that I would be interested in. I wanted to live as a homeless person for 30 days and record it and talk to all these homeless people, like actually get to know why they are where they are, like what happened, like how did these people get here? Like, you're not just homeless. There's a story there. Like, they are people. And that was always intriguing to me. So that show sounds very interesting to me.
I mean, I've done the same thing. I mean, with Florida, there's so many panhandlers and people on corners that some of them are legit and some of them are not so much.
Yeah.
You know, so, and the actors and actresses that play the fake homeless people in the corner just to get a buck, some of them are really convincing.
They are.
You can't tell the difference. But, you know, the ones that you know are true and are real homeless people, you know, you sit at that red light and you look over at those people in the corner and you ask yourself, like, how did that's someone's son, that's someone's father, maybe, you know,
Mother,
how
maybe.
did that person end up living in the woods? You know, for a lot of them, it's drugs or alcohol. You know, they can't stay off one or the other to keep a job. Some of them have mental retardation issues to some degree and can't hold down a job. But then again, you ask yourself, well, why is this person not being taken care of by family members? Did they all die? You know, there's just so many different things that you go through your head when remember when you and I were driving? We actually were going to Walmart, the Walmart that I work at, actually. And we saw a guy crossing the street with, I think he was riding a bike. He was riding a bike. And I said to you, I was like, what do you think his ass smells like?
Why are we so stupid?
And you're like, shit, Brittany, I don't know. He's freaking homeless. Probably like shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because the mind is a very powerful thing, and how we handle stuff and how we don't handle stuff affects our progression in life and how we, you know, move forward in careers and personal life and family life. And if you're not willing to like face those things and handle them, you start to see parts of your life suffer. And that's why it just sucks. But you know, everybody goes through shit. Everybody goes through shit. There's people who've had their entire families annihilated and they somehow find a way to keep moving forward. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's really all life is in this physical world, is trying to roll with those punches and just keep going on. I mean, that's my greatest fear, is to be as fat as I am. So, no, honestly, on a real level, I will say, this is a story. So when I think I was maybe 11 or 12, a church member, one of my mom's friends in church, her son died. He was about 8 or 9 weeks old, of SIDS. So we went to the funeral, and there was, you know, a little baby casket, and the baby was in there. And she was devastated. Obviously, this is her child. And she, you know, took him out and was holding him, and other people were holding him. And it traumatized me, like literally traumatized me. And for my entire life, that was my biggest fear, was to lose a child. Even at that age, I thought, I'm never going to have kids, because the fear of losing that, seeing that pain, seeing that baby's body just destroyed me. Like, I was like, I will never do this. Well, we know how that turned out. And when that happened, you know, after all of that happened, there would be things that would normally like invoke fear in me, like certain things at work that I'm not familiar with, like procedures in the OR or whatever that I would have to go and do. would make me nervous or scared. You know, when you don't know how to do something, you get scared, like you get that knot in your belly or whatever. You know what I mean? And after Peyton died, I find it hard to get scared. Like I find it hard to get that kind of same nervousness. I haven't felt that since he died. And I was talking to Rachel about it, like just a few months after he died. And she was like, well, when you live your biggest fear, what's left to fear? Like once you've lived the number one thing you were most afraid of, what else do you have left to fear? And I think that that's true. Like it took away a lot of those fears in my, like that gut-wrenching fear of anything, because I've already lived it. You know?
That is, I don't think I would ever take a baby out of a casket and like pass it around. Like I don't.
You know, I didn't get it at the time, and we didn't do that because for me, like when you know that morning came and he had passed away, you know, we were holding him at the house before the coroner came, and you know, you grieve and you go through all these emotions and everything, and then slowly you just, you know, he looked like himself, but as hours go by, you know, the body changes the way that it looks. And by the time the funeral came, it was like a closure. Like it was a closure of a chapter, and he looked great. They did a great job, but it's like, that's not him. You know what I mean? He's not there anymore. And that's what that poem was about that I recently posted, Where Did You Go? And I still feel that way. And there are things that happen in pop culture, things that people say that just resonate with me. Like Bindi Irwin was on Dancing with the Stars years ago, and she talks about her dad dying. And she says that there will always be a part of her that feels like he's going to come home. Like that he's going to come home. And I get that, because you just have that feeling, because you just can't really comprehend it, if that makes sense. And I just don't think the death of a child is natural. I just don't. And, you know, it's like there's this thing going around on Facebook that I shared. It's like, you know, if you lose your parents, you're an orphan. If you lose your husband or your wife, you're a widower or a widow. But if you're a parent that loses a child, there's no title. Like, what do you call those people? Like, there's not even a word or a title that can really say whatever that is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, death is just one of those things that is extremely, extremely hard to deal with, no matter which corner you try to turn it on. Yeah. I mean, whether it's like you're losing a parent or a child, the thing is that we all know it's inevitable. You know, we are going to die.
Brittany, when you think about that, do you think about dying?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be in bed and I'll just think, what if I don't wake up in the morning? Yeah. Not saying that I'm like, don't want to. I'm not saying that. But like, it's very weird to contemplate your own mortality, because at the end of the day, we don't know what happens after we die. We all have our own beliefs. Some people believe in heaven. Some people believe in nothing. We really don't know. Anything could happen. Okay. But it's very weird to contemplate your mortality. But I feel like it's a sign of maturity.
Yeah.
You think so? Like to really understand that? For
me, when I had my back surgery, the year that Luke was born, basically, I pushed him out with so much exertion that I pushed one of my spinal discs into my spinal canal. It was a whole cluster thing. Basically, I had to do surgery and pull it out and put you know, a fake disc or whatever they did in there. But it was the first time I had ever been put under a knife and put to sleep. I always thought when you're put to sleep, you like, it's like literally going to sleep. Well, when I realized that there's nothing, granted I wasn't dead, I get it, but literally there was nothing. When I woke up and I was in the hospital, and even I stayed there for a day or two, I was thinking about like how that whole experience was, that I went to sleep and then I just woke up. There was just blackness. There was I didn't think, I didn't sleep. There was just, it was nothing. It made me think about, it started thinking about mortality, and that's when I started, even though yes, I know I wasn't dead, but
it sparked that in you.
Yeah, it sparked that in me to think like is there nothing? Do we just turn into what that was when we were asleep? Is there just nothing? And Justin knows this, and my husband knows this. I have an extreme addiction to Red Bull. Extreme addiction. I mean, for a while there, I think I was drinking like 4 or 5 a day, which is not good. And I suffer from a heart condition that I had when I first met Anthony. I suffer from supraventricular tachycardia. It comes and it goes. It comes more so when I'm hard on the Red Bulls, and I drink them hardcore for weeks on end, a lot a day. And I've been told to stop drinking them, but I'm hopelessly addicted to them. But especially when stress happens, my heart basically just does this weird, like, and tries to kick over and does this weird thing, and I can't breathe and feels like I have an elephant sitting on my chest. It's a horrible, horrible experience. Kind of like an anxiety attack, but it's not. It's my heart not beating correctly. And I often think to myself, what happens if, I have a bad episode of SVT and I don't wake up? Granted, I've cut down the Red Bulls extremely because my cardiologist told me to. These are things I don't share with people because it's not so bad that I need to have surgery or anything like that. They tried to do surgery. They went in through my leg, a catheter through my leg, up into my heart, and tried to fix it, but had no luck. So it's pretty much something I just live with. It comes and goes from time to time with stress and with the overexertion of Red Bulls or caffeine in general. But it's one of those things I'll have to live with. So I always wonder, the older I get, like, is it going to get worse and have more attacks of this SVT? And am I going to, go to bed one night and not wake up because my heart decides not to kick over or something? It's just one of those things where I think in my head, like, how would that work? What would happen with my family and all that kind of stuff? Your own mortality, you start to think about it. I'm only, 39 years old. I'm still extremely young, but not young. Like, you know what I mean? To someone who's 20, I'm old as shit. But to someone who's 60, I'm young as, a spring chicken. So it's just one of those things where it's all relative. Age is relative. It really is.
Right.
I don't feel old, but I don't feel young. I feel very middle-aged, So, these are things that, and then with my weight, I'm not really overweight. Like, I'm not morbidly obese or anything, but am I overweight? Yeah. I could stand to lose about 20 to 30 pounds, and I'd probably be more in the healthy range. But your weight starts to really play into all the other things as well. Your heart is not going to beat correctly. Going up a flight of stairs is going to nearly kill you. You sweat in areas you shouldn't be sweating in. These are things. This is not healthy. It's one of those things where I've actually lost 5 pounds with this new job, just because this new job has me running around like a little chicken with my head cut off. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, I think I walked like 5 miles on Saturday just doing my job, you know? So yeah, my own mortality, the older you get and things start to hurt and things start to happen in your body that you're not used to. What if you die? What happens if you get, maybe it's not your driving, but someone else hits you when you're driving to work? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yes.
It messes with your head. It really does, because you don't realize. And I watch, on YouTube, I watch Crime Scene Cleaners, which is Spalding Decon, where they're basically people that go in and clean up after people that kill themselves or are in car accidents and die. And I just watch that stuff, and I'm just like, God, they were here 1 second and just gone the next. Like, it happens like boom, done. It's just.
Yeah, I've watched 3 people die. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law and my grandfather, and then Peyton. And Peyton had already passed away, but I don't know. It's true. It's just very I don't know that the human mind can comprehend it.
No.
You know what I mean? Because you're there and then you're just not.
Yeah.
And where are you? where did you go? And for me, like, especially, you know, when all this death was happening, it's, I don't know, it just makes you think about life different. And it for me, it made me, I never really thought about death. And I do think about death often because I feel like as a society, we don't like to talk about death and our own mortality. And I just feel like at the end of the day, death is a part of life. Like you were saying, like it's inevitable. We are all going to die. And the moment we can accept that, I feel like in a way as a society, we could be better. And death has just become, you know, so much of my practice is focused because of death, you know, with my ancestors. It's that connection with them and the respect of the cycle of life, really understanding and respecting the cycle of life. And but it is very strange to think about because it's just, what is it going to be like?
And that's why I was saying, like, you know, comparing it to when I had that back surgery and I was put under, like, is it like that? Is there really just nothing?
Well, and my thing is like, when they die, are they gone? Like immediately? Like the moment the heart stops beating, like, can he not hear me anymore? Do they hang around? You know what I mean? Like nobody knows.
Because you can't come back, you know. And the whole ghost thing, like, have I ever seen a ghost? No. Have I seen things that are make me go like kind of like an X-File type stuff that make me go like, did that just happen? Yes, absolutely. But have I physically, you know, like the Ghost Whisperer, you know, with Jennifer Love Hewitt, like I've physically seen a ghost? Like, no, I have not. I've seen some pretty crazy shit that make me scratch my head and go, wait, what just happened? You know, so do I know that stuff actually exists, like the whole sci-fi paranormal? No, I don't know. I can't say yes and I can't say no. You know, it's just like aliens. You can't say yes and you can't say no. There's got to be life somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, you know, we'll never know, you know, what it's like, you know, because you can't come back afterwards. And that's why there is so much mystery on it. But it's just one of those things where, you know, October in Samhain is that time where we start connecting with those who have passed. And a lot of people see that as a depressing time, but it really shouldn't be. It should be a celebration time. You know, everybody thinks of, you know, fall and the death of, you know, here in Florida, as you know, Justin, we don't really have much death until like January, but everything's very summery here. But in other parts of the country, you know, they're seeing the leaves change, the fall off, the colder temperatures. They're dealing with that turnover. We don't deal with the turnover until about January. So for us, we still got some months to go, but you know, they're living it, and everybody thinks that it's bad, but the amount of change that has happened in my life with the whole changing of the seasons. I mean, it's weird how it happened all right at the same time when the seasons changed and the wheel started turning is when everything started flipping. Why are you throwing stuff?
I don't know. Something fell. Oh, my crystal.
But yeah, you know, it's really weird how stuff has happened like that. Because my life literally in the past month and a half is completely flipped upside down. Completely. New job, new title, new kitty in my house. You know, new member of the family, you know, it's just so much change going on. And now I can't wait to get into 2021 because I'm over COVID. I'm over Trump. I'm over not just Trump. I shouldn't even say just Trump. I'm over just politics in general. I'm over the government. I'm over all of it. Like, we need to change. And that's why, whether you like Biden or not, I just think we need to change. We just need something new. And COVID, I'm done with wearing a mask at work. I'm over it. This year has been a fucking shit show. I'm so over it. Anything that possibly could happen wrong in people's lives has happened this year.
Yeah. But you know, that's the thing is I think, you know, the seasons are really a representation of our life and how we transition through life. And you can't, it's not healthy to just say, okay, well, I'm going to live in springtime forever and everything's going to grow and be abundant. Like, things have to die and things have to end so that new things can come in and new things can happen for you. So, you know, it's just a part of life. And I think this time of year, and Samhain in particular, is a good time to respect that and own that and understand that and welcome those changes, even though you may not understand it. You know, I mean, we all know, we all go through shit and we're like, fuck, how the fuck is this going to work for me? I mean, Brittany, you know this, you put in 10 years and you're like, is my career over? Like, what's happening? Like, what's happening? And in the end, you know, something had to die so something even better could come along.
Exactly. And that's what I told the whole team. When I started working with them, you know, they were like, how do you feel about, you know, leaving the academy that you were with for 3.5, 4 years? And I said, it hurt. But honestly, like, this is so much better. I actually found out that my old store is going through a hardcore change right now. They've had people walk out. They've had people calling ethics on some of the management at that store. Like, everything happens for a reason. And I got out right in time because now the grass is greener on the other side. And I'm in a place where I can develop and I can grow and I can move my career up. And gosh, like, I did a road opener spell and holy shit, did it work. You know, so it's everything happens for a reason, but you know, it's now almost 11 o'clock. So, you know, closing this up, you know, I think that you shouldn't wait for October to do shadow work. It should be something that you should tackle all year long, and it shouldn't be something that you should be scared of, because I think that if I had kept a lot of the things that make me who I am today bottled inside, I'd be a shit show.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing. You have to understand that. I mean, it's just like the thing with death, and everything adds to your life. Good, bad, and different. Everything is just steering you down another path. But you know, it's hard to realize that when you're going through the thick of it. But you know, you have to face your own demons and your own true self and who you are when you're alone, looking in the mirror, and you're sharing and thinking about things that you don't tell anybody about. You know, we all have those secrets, whatever it is. And coming face to face with those and understanding those so that you can get to a place where you feel like you've accepted yourself fully as who you are, accepted that, and are willing to work through whatever it is you need to work through.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's weird, you know, just talking about it, because I don't think I really actually talked, you know, out in the open about, you know, my childhood and what I dealt with, but talking about it, like, it's weird when you know in your head, but when you vocalize and you say it out loud, whether it be to you or talk to everybody, and you know, the 16 people in this chat here, this show, you know, it's weird how everything, just the puzzle pieces start to kind of play. You know, it's kind of cool to think about.
It is.
Anyway, so let's just look in the chat here for the last minute.
It won't be going away, but unless the doctors say to get a vaccine, I'm not getting it. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's going to go away, Angie, but I mean, honestly, like Walmart, for instance, good example. This is just one of the small things. They're extending their hours back to 11 o'clock, and then you'll see 12 o'clock, then you'll see 24 hours. I mean, things are they're taking these phases to slowly inch back to normalcy. For a while there, Walmart was closing at 8, then they extended to 10, and now in November, they're going to send it to 11 o'clock. That's just one thing out of many things. I know some counties and some states have taken away the mandatory masks. Now it's optional in some counties across the United States. So there are small things that are people trying to do to get back to normalcy. And I think that as time has gone on, in my opinion, I'm seeing less and less of the not scare tactics. That's really not the word, but just things that are in place that are scary, you know? Because remember in the very beginning, you had to stay at home. There was quarantine. You basically, unless you were an essential worker, you couldn't leave your house. That's no longer a thing. You know, things are starting to ease up very, very small and very slowly, but they are. And I do think that probably by mid 2021, COVID will be pretty much a thing of the past, because then by the vaccine will be out. And even if you get the vaccine or you don't get the vaccine, the government will ease up because there is a vaccine. So it's on its way out. At least that's physically what I feel. It's not close to out, but it's on its way out. I'm over it. I really am. And honestly, the masks, people are still getting COVID with the masks. The masks are just peace of mind. Do they help a little bit? Yeah, sure, probably. But I don't think that they're as proof, COVID proof as people think they are. Oh, we're spiking again here in Florida too, but not anything near what it was when COVID first hit. We are spiking again, yes, but not to the numbers that it was back in April and May of this year. All right, well, if that is all, we're going to close it out. I hear Kitty Bell. I know he's in here somewhere. I can hear his bell jingling in here. Somebody's playing with something in the room. I have to work tomorrow, but not until noon. Thank God.
I have to work at 7 a.m.
Fuck you. It sucks. Since when do you work on Mondays anymore?
I always work on Mondays.
Oh, you do?
Uh-huh.
That sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I mean, at one point, I think we had 18 people in the show. It was a really, really good show to sit here and talk to you guys, about, COVID and shadow work and childhood trauma and all sorts of things that are difficult to talk about, death. So we are going to do Sex Magic September, Sex Magic September in November. We will let you know. Most likely, Wine and Witchcraft will be Sundays unless otherwise stated. It can change because my job has changed now, and I think Justin, you picked up more hours at the second job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that too. So, depending on our schedules, Wine and Witchcraft may not be a set day or a set time or that kind of stuff. It will fluctuate a little bit, but just bear with us. We try to put out trailers and notices as much as we possibly can to let you guys know what's up.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everybody coming to Wine and Witchcraft for October. And I love sitting here and chatting with you guys and just talking about wine and witchcraft.
I know.
And thank you guys for being a part of the show tonight. And we'll talk to you real soon and see you on our channels.
Bye.
Bye.